Had a little listen to his podcast, huh?
Dude, it's educational. And besides, I've been wanting to listen to this one.
Welcome to Idling in the Impala, a podcast by and for lovers of supernatural and the fan fiction it inspires. Before we begin, just want to remind you to follow us wherever you listen so you don't miss any episodes or bonus content. If you love what we do and want an easy way to show your support, please consider leaving us a positive, all the stars rating on your favorite listening platform. It helps SPN and fanfic lovers find us and share in the fun. I'm Sandra.
I'm Kasey, and this is the first episode of the year in this format. It's April. No, this is the first Canon Fodder of 2024. It's been a minute since we did.
I don't even remember
fodder.
The last time we did one.
Don't remember. No, I don't. We have tables about this shit, but none of us have them open because we are woefully unprepared. That's not true. Sandra has a document. I have nothing. So par for the course. We were like, what if we do a Canon Fodder? Mm-hmm. I was like, what if we do a Canon Fodder? And Sandra was like, what if we go to Discord and do a Canon Fodder? And I was like, oh my God, that's so good. So if you don't know, quick recap, we have a Discord. Come say hi. Mm-hmm. If you are a Ko-fi member, bring your goat. Bring your goat, because I don't know what the fuck that accent was, but it just went a bit squishy. So bring your goat if you are a Ko-fi subscriber, member, whatever. Mm-hmm. But we have a Discord, and in and amongst all the varied and fun things that happen in that Discord, we have spaces where you can recommend things. So we have a space where you can recommend something that you wrote, a space where you can recommend something you found that someone else wrote that you're like, oh my God, this is the tits though. Everybody needs to see it. And then we have spaces where you can share like art and GIFs and songs and videos, mm-hmm. Stuff like that. Safe for work and not safe for work. Anyway, we love sharing creativity. So we're going to do a Canon Fodder. We're going to grab from Discord. And then we decided we're going to grab from the I wrote a thing section of Discord. Mm-hmm. And I got in first. I scrolled through. I messaged Sandra. I was like, I'm doing this one. And she was like, yeah, that was on my list. And I was like, nah, I've got it now. So, I guess without any further ado, we'll just hop right into it. So Sandra has this real cute little Google Doc with like all of her things. Oh, look, it says in the doc, maybe mention the Discord channels we have set up. Oh my God, I did a thing. I have not looked at this document even once. No, that's not true. I looked at it. I skimmed it because I was kind of hoping that she might have put a link to my fic in there to help me out.
I'm sorry. Didn't. No, I just did mine.
No, it's
I'm
fine.
Sorry. Oh.
No, it's fine.
Oh, goodness.
AO3 has a history section for just this fucking reason.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I scanned the document. Like small, tiny little tangent. Before this, we were talking about a different document, and I was like, wait, do you operate on the assumption that I read these before we get here? And she was like, sometimes. And I was like, no. Unless you specifically say to me, Kasey, you need to go and look at X, I don't. Mm-hmm. I turn up unprepared and I figure it out on the fly. So, yeah, I haven't looked at this. But anyway, I did mention the Discord channels we have a set up. Yay, go me.
Yay. Okay, good.
But we're going to dive straight into my first recommendation, which I have helpfully for myself opened in AO3. Yay. So, oh my God, it's been so long since we did a Canon Fodder that I can't remember how we used to do this, but I think I vaguely remember. So mine is by Jinkies, Would You Look at This, which is their username on AO3, and they also have a Tumblr as well. Mm-hmm. And they're also in our Discord. Hi, Jinkies. Because you're totally listening to this, because you will be, because I'm going to tag you and go, we covered your fic. So this fic is explicit. It is, no, creator chose not to use archive warnings, which is interesting. Female, male. I would have brought Wincest, but all of the Wincest ones that are in there are either by me or by my very close friends, and I've talked about them extensively anyway. So, and the ones that I haven't talked about extensively weren't specifically in there. So if you are in our Discord and you're going, hey, why didn't you pick mine? Post it in the channel, people, and I will. Mm-hmm. Anyway, yeah. It's female, male. We're getting head up in here for a little change. Fandom is supernatural, of course. Relationships, Dean Winchester /reader, Sam Winchester /reader. Save that thought in your head, people. Additional tags, female reader insert, lust spell trope, possible non-con, ABO A/B/O inspired, but not actually A/B/O. Slight smut with strong suggestive smuttiness. Hold that in your head as well, listener. Mentions of masturbation, fingering, strong language, possessiveness. And it's actually, oh my God, it's like, wait, I have to do maths.
What do you mean?
7 years old. 7 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Did you
It's
say
very
what the
popular.
name of it was?
No, I haven't got that yet.
Okay. Wait a minute. Did you usually say the name? Okay, got it. Okay.
The name of this fic, Sandra,
Mm-hmm.
is Heat, again by Jinkies. Would you look at this? The summary says, Sam and Dean help you deal with the after effects of a lust potion. Hold that in your brain once again, please, listeners. The notes, thanks another Winchester fangirl for betering and fixing grammar goofs. Oh yeah, misplaced comma users unite. Also for the amazingly wonderful comments and feedbacks. So, the basis of this story is that our female reader insert character has they've been dealing with a witch, or they were hunting a witch, or whatever. She's been hit with a lust spell potion. There's a reference to being slipped a Mickey. So I don't know, maybe it was a spiked drink or spiked food or something. Anyway, under the effects of a lust spell, and it is actually I read a fair chunk of ABO. Sandra doesn't. It gives you the squick, doesn't it?
It's just not my thing. I don't know what it is about. I mean, I've read a couple ones that I do enjoy.
You read mine.
Yeah, and I've read.
You didn't enjoy it, but you read it.
No, but it was good. I've read stuff that BJ's written one. I think I've read that.
Oh, that Bow Island one.
No, I haven't read that one yet. It's another like really long one from like way back when we first interviewed.
Right, okay.
But no, I have read a couple. This one, I think I read this one before you did. I think because I'd already read this and I think commented when Jinkies first listed it in our Discord. I do like this one, but I think it's more about the vibe, the feel of it. That's just it's very intense. Like it's intense. Like, but it's intense in a, fanning myself kind of way. Like it's really good. It's a really good one.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I quite like it. Usual disclaimers that there's a lot of dubious consent and yada 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 that goes along with A/B/O. It mimics that trope pretty well, but it's not. It's a lust spell. So in some ways, disclaimer for all the same kind of warnings. But so we have our female reader, our female character who is under the effects of the spell, and it's mimicking all the. If you have read any A/B/O fics, an Omega in Heat, things like that. Mimicking all those things. And she's with Sam, who is trying to be a gentleman. And she's trying real fucking hard to fuck him. And he's very much resisting this, which is admirable. We'll leave that there. That's admirable.
Yeah.
So we're coming at this from the POV of our female character, which is one of my favorite things, because I can listen to someone wax lyrical about Sam and all his physical beauty forever. So if I'm in the head of someone who's like, oh my God, his hands are so fucking big though, I'm like, oh my God, they are though. So, I'm having a good time with this fic. They're waiting on Dean to get back. She's, it's the effects of this spell, potion, whatever it is, getting worse and worse and worse. He's trying to be nice. He's trying to help her. She's imagining all the ways they could fuck 7 ways to Sundays. It's great though. Like when we get to the end of this section, you can see that Sam is very much affected by the pheromones that she's putting off, or the sight of her, or maybe the spell creates some kind of I don't know. Sam is also affected, so we cut out with her just being like Sam ? And then we're jumping into Dean. Dean's pulling into the motel room. Sam's outside. That's weird. Why have you left her on her own? Oh no, I had to tie her up. It was the only way to make her stop trying to fuck me. And Dean obviously reacts with horror with it. What the fuck? What do you mean? Whatever they thought this potion would do is having other effects. And Dean's like, oh, besides her trying to fuck you. And Sam's like, oh, you'll see. See. Just wait. So they go back into the room. She's tied to the chair. He's sort of like tied, in the way that all villains tie the Winchesters to chairs, and like they don't have like detachable fucking wrists. Just wrists behind the back of the chair. Legs not tied up. That's important, right? So there's a scent aspect again. So we're going back to mimicking the alpha, A/B/O, alpha, beta, omega, that kind of like heat, scent, pheromones. I've messed with it. It's fun to play with. They're going to give her the antidote. It's a plastic bottle out of a paper bag, which is real clever. I like that. Because you're like, it could be anything. What if it's mouthwash? Minimum. You don't know. It could be. You don't know. I love that. Also, I'm kind of, there's that, you know, that really stereotypical image of like a drunk with a bottle of something in a brown paper bag that just comes into my mind. But I choose to imagine it as mouthwash. Jinkies don't. I'm sorry, sweetie. It's so good. I just get weirdly fixated on visuals. So, yeah. Now she's begging both of them for sex. Now they're both there, and she's begging both of them. And Dean's all like, maybe though. You know, and she's like, oh, I'd be so good though. I'd be so good for you. You like, I can tell you want it too. I can tell you want it too. And Sam is ever the white knight and just kind of like hauls Dean out of the motel room and just like, no, because Dean is not as strong as his brother, doesn't want to be as strong. I don't know. We've discussed Dean and Sam's sexual tendencies multiple times.
Yeah.
But
I really like the possessiveness that they go through.
Oh, yeah.
That is off the charts. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like that.
So it cuts out as the door slams. We cut back into Sam bending his brother over the hood of the car. Hello. This is not a Windsor story. Tragic. No, it's great. No, it's great. Just kind of like just throws him over the hood of the car and keeps him there until just like cools his jets a little bit. And then they're kind of like, there's a bit of like me with each other, and they're like, Dean's like, why didn't you want me? And Sam's like, I fucking did though. What? Why are you like this? Yeah. So Sam's like, I had to tie her up, and I almost didn't leave. Like I almost did the deed. So this kind of like, I love just a smutty one shot as much as the next person. But then this has me going, oh, what is the story? What is like, how do they know each other? How long have they been together? You know, who fancies who? Tell me the details. You know, so we go back to Dean's kind of just like leaning against the Impala, and Sam goes back to sit outside the door of the motel room, which is where Dean found him in the first place. And they're just kind of like, oh, we'll just wait for the antidote to take effect. We'll just wait. Do you think it's working? No. How do you know? I can still hear her. So she's kind of like calling out for them.
Yeah.
And Dean decides the solution to this problem is to drink. Not a bad solution. It's a Dean solution, by all means. We head back into the POV of our favorite lady, who is significant. She's in distress. Like, somebody give this girl an orgasm. Come on now.
Yeah.
She's in significant distress. This is cruel at this point. This is a cruel and unusual punishment. And we're thinking back to how she almost fucked Sam and like what position they ended up in, and then he tied her to the chair. And I'm like, ooh, could you be less of a gentleman for like 5 seconds, Samuel? Please. Just pretty please. This antidote isn't working. It's not doing what it's supposed to be. Again, lots of lovely imagery of Sam and all his largeness in all of the areas. It's been so long since I've spent time with Sam from the POV of a female that I forget how much you can go. He's so fucking big, though.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
Yeah.
So I start every sentence with "so" when we do these. Next scene. Moving on. So. We jump back to Sam and Dean. Dean's like, hey, we have a gas mask.
Dean has a gas mask, so we're going to think maybe
Dean has a gas mask. Sam and Dean have a gas mask. Why the fuck don't they? And they're like, hey, maybe this will work with whatever like weird pheromone scent.
Right.
Like, whatever is happening that is making them want to fuck, maybe this will help.
Yeah.
So Dean is obviously the one that's gonna wear the gas mask. And of course, Sam's like, why you though? And Dean's like, because I'm the big brother. Being like, it's just fucking logical. But also, because you're all sweaty, which is a fucking brilliant response. That's such a Dean response. Why is it always you? Oh, because you need a shower. Why not?
Well, because you can also, like, you can feel the possessiveness. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Between them, and they're starting, like, the hints of it.
It's breaking down. Yeah.
Sam's resolve is gone. And the fact that Dean is the voice of reason in this is quite funny, but I think it's just because, again, Sam had more time with her. It's probably taking a little bit longer for him to release whatever's going on. I wonder if the lust spell thing too just has anything to do with, like, I'm thinking back to like Pine Sweat and how there were like auras or rings, or like, you know, she could just be emanating this, like, whatever this spell trope thing is going on. So if it was a Mickey, you said, is that what you thought it was?
Something slipped a supernatural Mickey, I think.
Yeah, so it could have been just like it's secreting probably like out of her pores or whatever. Yeah, so I think he got infected worse than Dean did at that point.
Yeah, That was one hell of a powerful Mickey. That asshole slipped her. So it could be, but they mentioned a potion as well. Jinkies, let us know what was it. The potion took 3 hours. Lust potion. Yeah, so a Mickey. If it's a spiked drink or whatever, that's just saying it could be liquid. A Mickey isn't liquid, but for those of you in the UK that are confused, I'm pretty sure it's ecstasy. Pretty sure that is the slang for ecstasy, which is a bit strange because I don't think anyone gets spiked with ecstasy. But we won't quibble on the linguistics of the situation. So they've argued. Dean's like, "Oh, you got to walk it off, man. Her honor is in your hands," which I think is cute. We go back in, gas mask on, blah 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 blah. So we cut back. There we go again. So, and then we cut. I feel like Jen said shapeshifter, and then we cut back to our female POV. Dean's coming in. He's just kind of like checking her out. Oh, she's running too much of a fever. We're going to put her in an ice bath. That is like not just take her to a hospital. Like PSA, please don't use impromptu ice baths to cool down fevers. Call someone. Irrelevant. They're going to put her in the bathtub. Dean sends Sam to go get ice because Dean's already in. He's like, I think Dean has already established at this point that if anybody's going to fuck her, it's going to be him, and Sam is just going to get on board with it. But it's fine. Now they're really kind of starting to snipe at each other.
Yeah.
She's untied, so obviously she's all handsy with Dean, and he's like, no, that's not. We're getting a bath. Stop that. Sam goes. She's still, getting real cozy and intimate with Dean's neck, which is a great place to get cozy and intimate with Dean, I think.
It is. There's so many nice places, but that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah.
I think you could conceivably make the side of Dean's neck like a happy place. Like my happy place is that hollow in Sam's neck. Where his collarbones meet, and then there's just that hollow that I live there occasionally. That's my happy daydream place. I will warn you, it's kind of damp, but it smells real good. So, God, that's disgusting. That's disgusting. Not even into sweaty people, but I feel like if you're into Sam, you just deal with sweat. Yeah. He's a very warm boy. Sam goes. Dean tells her to get undressed, and he's going to fill the tub up with cold water while we wait for Sam to come back. And he's like, get undressed. I'm going to go get a thermometer. Take your clothes off. No, don't do that. Leave your underwear on. Leave your top and your underwear on. Dean goes outside, takes his gas mask off, breathes the free air as a free man, blah, 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 blah. Sam comes back. I have ice. Sam's like, wait, what are you doing? Dean's just like, I just need some fresh air. I told her to get undressed, blah, 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 blah. Sam, go. Leave. Go. Dean comes back in. She's in the bathtub masturbating. Why wouldn't you be? She's got her hands back. Why would you not?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, no, we're not quibbling on any choices that are made by anybody in this fic. It's amazing. So he decides, there we go again, and then he decides just gonna turn around, just gonna give her some privacy. Maybe she can work this out herself. She cannot. So she's calling out to him again. It's not working. I need you to do it. Sam's gonna get you some ice. Can I take your temperature? And I think this is the moment that kind of I think it might be touching her. That is kind of drawing them in because things seem to ratchet up again after one of them touches her. So Dean obviously holds her mouth closed, I guess, because she's, a bit delirious. Takes her temperature and she's kind of like, oh, a hand, look, what if we just put it here and did this and did this? And, still trying to, and I'm fudging the details because you've really got to read the dialogue and the internal POV from the internal imagery and stuff. It's so good. And also, I don't have Sandra's beautiful, smooth East Coast accent. Nobody wants to hear me read porn, trust me.
You don't know that.
No, I really do. I don't have the right kind of British accent for that. If I had a posh South British accent, maybe.
Okay.
What? What?
It would be fine. I think you would do fine with it.
No, thank you. I'm all right.
Not my thing. Not my thing.
This is just not my thing. So Sam comes back with 40 pounds of ice.
Regardless, it's 40 pounds in total. So they've got a lot of ice going on, which I think you'd need for a bathtub anyway. If you're going to be trying to cool down that water, you need a decent amount of ice. I think.
Oh,
it's a lot of water in a bathtub. And a lot of it's going to melt right away. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, but like, I don't know. That's like almost 4 stone for people in the UK. 20. Well, no. Yeah, it is. Like 40 pounds of ice. It's like about 25 kilos. So
Yeah.
I don't know. That feels approximate to the weight of my almost 6-year-old. And I'm like, oh, we need so much ice. What the fuck? But you make a point actually that we're not just icing down a person. We are in fact icing down a bathtub. And if you know anything about thermodynamics, you need a bit of ice. So yeah, that makes reasonable. Sam comes back with his fucking small child's worth of ice in his gargantuan arms, because why wouldn't you, I guess? It's just the way it's like, they only had 10-pound bags, so I got 4. This makes me laugh. Like, yeah, of course you did. You know, what the fuck? If they had 20-pound bags, would you come back and go, no, they had 20-pound bags, so I only got 2. What? Anyway, Dean has established at this point that the antidote is not working. We're not sure why, but it's not working. And Sam's like, no, we just need to give it time. And Dean's like, it's been 2 hours, motherfucker. She's still in there. No. Now is where it all kind of falls apart, because Sam's like, what were you doing? You smell like her scent is all over you. And Dean's like, I put her in the bathtub. And Sam's like, nope, it's on your jeans and on your face. What the fuck are you doing? So Dean, ever the chivalrous gentleman, walk it off. Sam, fuck you, no. That's where we're at. But they're inside the motel room now. Dean had gone back to like the bedroom, and Sam had walked in. So they're inside the motel room now. And now they start to fight. It's like physically fight. They're shoving each other. They're arguing. You stay away from her. No, it's mine. I don't think anyone says no, it's mine. But you know, they're starting to, you can't have her. I'm having her. Blah 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 blah. And they just appear to have forgotten this lovely, wet, nude, well, semi-nude woman in the bathtub. But don't worry, she gets out of the bathtub and reminds them of her very wet presence. Get out of the bathtub. So they're still kind of arguing. And she just kind of steps in the middle of them, grabs hold of both of them, gives them a kiss, and is just like, I need you, both of you. Please don't fight. And then, jinkies, it fades to black. Sophia, I would invite you to remember all the things I told you to remember in the instance. And then we got down to the good and dirty, and it faded to black. I feel like I'm talking to Amy. Amy, why do all of your things fade to black? So, I have no criticisms for this fic, but I'm eyebrow raising. Maybe it was right there. It was right there. But also, I have written threesomes, and that is a lot of limbs to wrangle. Well, I get it. That's a lot of limbs. And you'd think just one extra dick wouldn't be that hard to, but it really is. It's just one extra body part. And you're like, I can totally deal with this. And then you're like, now there's 2 of them to keep track of. What the fuck is happening right now? It's too many.
I see. For me, I think the great thing about it was the build up to it is so intense. And I appreciate that part of it. And I think it really does encapsulate like the term heat, you know, and
yeah,
they're arguing their possessiveness, and, you know, you kind of just are waiting for them to give in, and it just keeps building and building and building. And I mean, yeah, we didn't do it any justice. It's got to be read because of the,
yes.
Again, I think they do a good job with the brother dynamics, and how you don't typically see Sam in this kind of state. And I think that's really
hot,
really exciting to see. And there's an interesting little twist at the end that you kind of see why everything was happening the way it was happening. And just going to shout out to a really one of my favorite redheads for knowing what to do in a situation like this. But it was it was satisfying. I know you are not a fan of like closed door or not, you know, but I feel like this kind of elevates that, you know, because it still gives you all of those feelings and that they're going to get down to it sort of situation. So
it is definitely a little bit of, you know, that kind of less is more. And I'm always of the opinion of more is more. But this is because you'd like, we're gonna have to haul out the Kasey scale again, satisfied to blue balls. This is not on the blue balls end of the scale, because we spent so long,
and you know they're
inside her POV,
you know. Yeah,
no, that doesn't help me. That doesn't help me. But we've spent so long inside her POV imagining all the things that she's going to do and thinking, like, you kind of feel like you've done it anyway.
Done it. Yeah.
So I will say, Jinkies, I'm sorry. You didn't quite make it to satisfied, but you're definitely not on blue balls.
Now, do you, again, like, I know this has been a while. I know this has probably gotten a ton of hits, I would assume. Yeah.
It does.
Yeah. 6,700. Yeah, it's definitely worth it. And I'm a sucker for lust potion sex spell stuff. So this was really good. Yeah. And knowing how, imagining the boys fighting over you. I mean, come on. That's, that's great. That's great stuff.
Yeah.
By the way, you said Mickey, you were like, what is a Mickey? I looked it up. In slang, a Mickey Fin, or simply a Mickey, is a drink laced with incapacitating agent, particularly chloral hydrate, given to someone without their knowledge with the intent to incapacitate them or knock them out. Hence the colloquial name, knockout drops.
Oh. See, it said, because you said Mickey Fin, and I was like, wait, is this some Cockney slam?
Yeah, I said Mickey, so I didn't know if that's what, I said Mickey.
Yeah, but it is. I also just Googled it, and it's a shortening of Mickey Fin.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, is this some kind of Cockney rhyming slang that no cunt told me about? What the fuck? It is not. It is not. It is the name of a notorious Chicago saloon keeper who was alleged to have drugged and robbed his customers. So that does not sound like the way you keep repeat customers, my friend. But thankfully, my knowledge, my very limited knowledge of Cockney rhyming slang has not let me down. But that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if I've got that confused with ecstasy then.
I don't know. But I was like, let me check that because I just wanted to like make sure. So of course it's from Wiki. So it's correct. So we're gonna go with that.
Yeah.
But no, that was a good choice. Again, I'm glad we were on the same page because that was literally like, I think that was like third on my list of options of recommendations to pick because I remember just reading it and being very, very taken by the writing style and how very much like, I think Jinkies really got like the reader aspect of it. And like you said, being able to give you the imagery is really important to set the scene and feeling the heat. Was there. It was there in spades.
Mm. It's okay. I've Googled it. I had confused it with Molly.
Oh, okay.
Which is a slang for ecstasy.
Okay.
There we go.
See, Mickey, Molly. It happens.
Yep.
It happens.
Yep.
It happens. Heat by Jinkies. Would you look at this? Rating is explicit. Chose not to use archive warnings. Category is female-male. Fandom is supernatural. Relationship, Dean Winchester /reader, Sam Winchester /reader. Characters, Dean Winchester, Sam Winchester. Additional tags, female reader insert, lust spell trope, possible non-con, A/B/O inspired, but not actually A/B/O. Slight smut with strong suggestive smuttiness. Mention of masturbation, fingering, strong language, possessiveness. Summary. Sam and Dean help you deal with the after effects of a lust potion. Notes. A huge thank you to another Winchester fangirl for beta-ing this for me and fixing my grammar goofs. Also for the amazingly wonderful comments and feedback. Was it getting hot in here? You squirmed in your seat again and uncrossed your legs, which was no help. You crossed your legs the other way. No good. Your skin felt flushed and tight, almost sunburnt, and you kept taking in deep breaths of air, trying to cool down. Every time you exhaled, it felt like you were breathing out steam. It was definitely getting incredibly, uncomfortably warm in here. Without thinking, you squeezed your legs together, tightly, but that just made it worse. Your tongue darted out and wet your lips before your teeth caught the lower one and bit down, not quite gently, on it. You sat forward, leaning an elbow on the table, your other hand shoved between your knees, thumb rubbing back and forth against your denim-clad leg. You sat back, uncrossed and recrossed your legs, your hand now squeezing your kneecap. A deep breath in and out, and you were leaning forward again, your thighs clenched. You licked your lips again. It was hot. You were hot, and it only seemed to be getting hotter. Here, Sam suddenly towered next to you, offering a steaming mug of minty-smelling tea. This might help settle your nerves. You took the mug and absent-mindedly blew on the contents. The heat seeped from the ceramic into your hands and straight to your cheeks. "How are you holding up?" he asked, full of concern, as he sat across from you at the tiny motel room table. Your face was burning, and the flush was spreading down across your chest, wet heat flaring between your legs at the subtle vibration of his voice. Not good." You started rocking slightly against the seat of your chair and set the mug down. "I need, You rubbed your face, covering your eyes. You knew exactly what you needed, or at least what your body thought it needed, but you wouldn't. You couldn't say it. Your breathing was becoming labored, and no matter how hard you tried, you couldn't sit still. "Hey." Sam reached across and touched your arm. His hand was warm through your shirt, warm and large. God, how had you never realized how big his hands were before? And strong. You could feel the strength even as it just rested gently against you. Your eyes drooped closed as you let out a long, low breath. Your cheeks were on fire. Swallowing thickly, you sat back, pulling away from his touch, even though every fiber of your being was screaming for you to do the opposite. "Don't," you rasped, not sure if you were talking to him or yourself. "Sorry," he said quickly as he pulled his hand back. You shook your head and shifted your legs. I need..." You licked your lips, looked at Sam as he tucked a stray strand of hair behind his ear and settled that big, strong hand on his thigh. You took a shaky breath and closed your eyes. An intoxicating, musky scent was suddenly everywhere, and you just knew, that it was coming from him. It was palpable. You could practically taste it, and it seemed to roll off him in waves as he moved. You felt saturated with it. "I don't know how much longer I can..." You swallowed down the rest of that thought and tried, instead, to change gears. "Where is he?" "I'll check," he said as he fished his phone out of his pocket and quickly typed out a text. You watched his fingers, imagining them touching you with the same deftness. He glanced up at you, his eyes flicking to your mouth before looking back down at the screen. You realized you'd been rubbing your mouth, tracing a fingertip across your bottom lip, brushing lightly against your teeth. You finally had to sit on your hands to stop them from making everything worse. Although how things could get worse, you weren't sure. You couldn't even remember ever being this aroused before, not even during sex. You felt like you were on fire and drowning all at once. You wanted to cling to him, climb right into his lap, and you barely stopped the moan that came on the heels of that image. When you crossed your legs for the 100th time in the last 20 minutes, you could smell your own desire. Your panties were soaked through to your jeans. Embarrassed, you curled in on yourself, resting your head on your arms. Things had managed to get worse. Now your scent was mingling with Sam's, and all you wanted was for him to fuck you right there against that crappy little motel room table, one broad hand pressed between your shoulders, fingers just curling around the base of your neck as he pounded into you from behind, hard thrusts filling you and pushing you forward. His phone dinged. When he moved to pick it up, a fresh wave of scent hit you. You were breathing through your mouth, your tongue wetting and re-wetting your lips. Without looking up, you pictured him holding the phone, how it would seem like a toy in his hand. And you wondered how those long, dexterous fingers that could cover so much skin would feel. Just one of his hands could pin both of yours easily behind your back as the other pressed 3 fingers up into your wet core, filling and stretching. This time, you couldn't suppress the moan. Hang in there. He's on his way back now. You sat up, pressed your thighs together, and ground down on the chair just a little. In the corner of your eye, you saw Sam clench his jaw and heard him swallow. His knee was bouncing. You saw him wipe his palm against the top of his leg. The nervous gesture drew your gaze up his leg to his crotch. He cleared his throat, and you looked up. His nostrils were flaring as he breathed deep and fast, an aggressive, predatory look darkening his eyes. "Sam?" You quietly pleaded, your voice trembling, betraying the extreme force of will it was taking to keep you in your chair. Good choice, though. I liked it. It was very good. Very good.
It was very good.
I'm glad I had read it in advance. Usually we don't. We sell each other on it. At least we've been doing that lately. So it was nice to kind of have that backstory on it too. For me, I did the thing where I picked 2 by the same author. I'm hoping we can get through both of them. If not, we'll just kind of make a little note.
We will do. I want to say, because that sounds like Sandra left me unprepared. I had a second one.
Oh.
And then Sandra went, "Oh no, that will gut you."
Well,
and I was like, "Oh, yeah. I'm really fucking insane. I'll try." And Sandra was like, "Please don't. Yeah, you can't read this right now."
It's not necessarily that there's anything inherently terrible about it. It's just the state that it kind of gets your brain in, you know?
Yeah, no, please don't think that was Sandra going, "Oh no, that's terrible." Sandra was like, no, that will give you so many feels.
And no, we're not even going to state like what.
No. Maybe we'll bring it to another one when I'm slightly less crazy. Yeah. But no, Sandra was looking out for my best interest because she was like, "Oh, that one really got me in the emotions," and I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll try." And she was like, "Please don't. Yeah. You will not end up in a good place after that. Please don't." Yeah. And you know what? Friends warn friends, and that's important. Friends warn friends. Don't do that. You will cry.
Yeah.
And I need that in my life.
Yeah.
I need that in my life. You know, it's like a gentler trigger warning. You know, I don't send Sandra shit that has stuff that triggers her. And if I have to for any reason, I'm like, you need to be aware. This. Yeah. Sandra reciprocating the favor. Very, very sweet. We love Sandra. But so please don't think I didn't complete my homework. I had a second fic. And Sandra said, "Don't use that one."
Yeah. So mine are both by Edge of Clairvoyance, which is actually Purple Edge in our Discord.
Hi, Edge.
Hi,
we miss
Edge.
You.
So Edge is really into family drama fiction that centers on younger Winchesters. I guess like teen Chesters, I think is the word. Sometimes it's used a lot.
Yes.
In their fics, there's a lot of the tags incorporate corporal punishment, spanking, and domestic discipline. Yeah. And I wrote, "Get your minds out of the gutter." They're all usually teen rated general. There's no shipping.
Both of these fics are teen. Let me just check.
Yeah, I think
general,
so.
Teen and up audiences in the general. So there's no like relationship.
There's no relationship. General. Yeah, general. Yeah. And their other ratings are typically, because I think she tends to, I think she rates them teen a lot just because of the, you know, the actions that are taking place. And then there's usually language, you know, because, you know, I think she said that they are Winchesters. There's going to be language happening.
Yep.
A lot of this stuff would be things that I wouldn't necessarily search out or find. The whole backstory to Edge, even like being into the Discord, is Edge contacted us. I think I'm going to say over a year, maybe more back.
Didn't she win? Did she win the Pond Prize? Or did she contact you?
No, she literally kind of just emailed because I think she had heard us talk about, we were asking for fics to narrate and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Edge.
So Edge gave me a whole bunch of different, basically said, you know, I had carte blanche to pick whatever. And when I looked through her catalog, I picked Sweet 16, which you can go back and listen to. I might add a link to it. It just broke my heart. It's pretty much, I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, it's all from John Winchester's POV. The main thing is what's the sacrifices Dean was making for Sammy in that. And it was just, it was very, just a lot of that. That kind of like family drama, that guilt, that shame, the, you know, trying to figure things out, piece things together within the family dynamic. They have over 60 fanfics posted. They've been writing for a while. I think I'm finding as far back as like 2017 as well, maybe a little bit before that, but I think 2017. We tried to have her on for a chat. She's hesitant, wants to keep some distance between real life and fandom. Totally understandable. We get it.
Totally get it.
But I thought, since I have read a handful of their things, and I'm really impressed by their writing ability. And writing, English is their second language. And I'm sorry, but
Is it?
Yes.
Wow. I would not have guessed that.
I'm amazed. That's
English is my first language and I don't write that good. What the fuck?
Her work is really good. She's, I don't know if she said John sympathizer or John apologist. It's one of those, but she is even able to occasionally stir up sympathy for me, for John in
Sweet
in
16
some of her
did.
storytelling. Yeah. Sweet 16.
I also read Sweet 16.
Yeah.
And y'all know me as an absolute militant John hater. And I was like, that's,
yeah. Yeah, and I think recently, I think she's tried to do a little bit more explicit, because I know she wrote one, I think after, I think she said she was inspired by us, and she wrote something, I think, with Dean.
She wrote a Dean Reader, and it was so fucking good.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I think she's just written another one recently. I have not read that one yet, but I picked one that kind of seemed interesting. Again, these were both recommended by Edge on our Discord. So I picked, the first one is, it's part one of what's called the Older Brother verse, and it's called Beneath Your Wings. And it's basically, so there's an original character written. His name is Connor. He's actually the oldest brother in this series. And these are basically, I think, like snapshots, vignettes. I haven't read more of them, but from what it sounds like, it's like little moments that
you
get. I'm going to, yes, after I read
am.
this one. Yeah, after I read this one, I was like, yes, I'm definitely going to read more in the series. Connor is the older brother. I believe he's like 5 years older than, I think 5 years older than Dean. I don't know for sure. So I was immediately, here's the summary. Connor being cooped up with his two younger brothers in a motel room or a trailer or a crap rental home wasn't a new thing. He'd been babysitting them ever since they were, well, babies, even before mom died, even before they were thrust into a world where fairy tale monsters were real and nightmares were happening while you were wide awake. And Dean being in one of his moods wasn't anything new either. The kid was as much a handful at 15 as he was at 5, even more so once all the usual teenage issues started kicking in. Connor could usually handle him, though, even without keeping his leash as tight as their father did. But today, Dean had come very close to making him break. And notes, spanking of a teen by an adult brother, if it may offend, hit the back button. Less than appropriate language by Dean and Connor Winchester. And it was betaed by 3 people, Tosca Rossetti, Crazed Panda, and Alex of the Garden. Okay, so
see how much nicer that is when she reads stuff compared to when I read stuff?
I was intrigued because immediately I was thinking, okay, what's the dynamic going to be like now with an older brother in the picture? How is Dean going to behave in the younger brother role? And for me, I was even more interested because that then makes Dean the middle child. And I was really curious, like, are they going to like work on that? Like, is there going to be like, are you eventually going to see maybe in like subsequent situations, like how does that play out? I liked that. I think right off the bat, you get how much Connor cares about his brothers. That's an immediate thing. And I think that goes hand in hand with how Dean cares for Sam and how Sam cares for Dean. So I think that through line is very interesting. So basically, they're all cooped up. Connor, being the adult, goes out for some fresh air, goes to take a walk because Dean is getting on his nerves, because Dean does that thing that he always does, which he eventually just gets on your nerves, and you need some time away from Dean. But there's also the recognition that Dean's got a lot of energy. You know, again, a lot of the things that we already kind of know about him being fearless, him being very stubborn, his ability to be probably a better hunter than Connor is, you know, and Connor's actually like, you know, in his POV is talking about that. There's one line I really liked, and I highlighted a bunch of stuff, but his brother was a good boy. There wasn't a teacher, neighbor, school counselor, or landlord that would convince Connor otherwise, but he was hot-headed, a jokester, impulsive, and had a mouth 10 sizes too big for his own good. That's Dean, 100%. All shapes and forms.
Sorry, no, I really love, I'm always kind of wary about fics, no matter what rating they come under, about fics that put another character into the family dynamic of the Winchesters. We've talked so much about the show being about how far can you bend family and stuff like that. But this was so masterful. This is one of those things that I describe as it could have happened just off camera.
Mm-hmm.
If the camera had just been to a little bit to the left, Connor would have been right there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Or this is the in-between scenes that we don't see. You know, it's so masterful. And I think it would be real easy for you to just copy paste all of the things Dean feels and is for Sam onto an older sibling, but it's not.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
It is all those kind of that love and that care, but it's very much wrapped up in all the ways Dean as a child would infuriate somebody. It's not just a carbon copy of, because I mean, I know that Sam's like stroppy. I'm trying to think how to translate that. Moody, grumpy.
Okay. Yeah.
Because you went silent and I was like,
yeah,
oh, no,
I was like, I don't know what that means. So I was waiting. I was expecting you to tell me what that was. So I was going to ask, but yeah, moody. Yeah, no, I get that.
Moody, like sassy, sarcastic, bitchy, you know? Mm-hmm. Sam's all of those things, and that is infuriating, but Dean is reckless and like just a little bit of a loose cannon, and that would be different to parent in a not less challenging than Sam, but different. And Edge, they get that so hard. You know, it's not a carbon copy. It's its own individual thing. Like, I love Connor. Like, he's just a little bit off camera, you know, maybe he hunts different, like, but he's right there for me. I am in love with this character.
Yeah. Yeah. And sorry, no. I was just going to say that. So the whole point of him being alone with Sam and Dean is because he fucked up on a hunt, and Dad, John, being, you know, it's like, nope, can't come with me. But he makes the excuse that, no, you have to watch Sam and Dean. And Connor's like, you know, Dean can handle Sammy. Another line that I highlighted, Dad could grumble all he wanted about the kid not showing a shred of responsibility, but the fact remained that whenever they left Dean in charge, Sammy was always clean, fed, clothed, and rested. Again,
and honestly, John only ever cared about 3 of them anyway.
Yeah.
He doesn't care if they're rested. He cares. I mean, honestly, you can make an argument for 2. Are they fed? Are they clothed and decent? Cool. He doesn't care if they're filthy and tired.
Yeah.
So, you know, Dean's already better than John.
Yeah.
Sorry, Edge.
It's true. It's just, there's a lot of, so there's the love that I think what I really appreciated about this was that there's a buffer between John and Dean, Connor being that buffer. And again, you know how I am. I just focus in on the Dean aspect of it. So it's just like, for me to see that he now has somebody in his corner in certain situations, even though he does drive him crazy, there's a love and a care there that I think you get right off the bat, even though it's harsh and Connor is just so very, I don't know if it's level. I don't know if he's the more level-headed or has to be, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like he's definitely the older. I'm also wondering, like, how much did that take off of Dean, but then still get him even more sort of like ignored situationally? Like, you know, it's just, I don't know. I'm interested in reading more about this family dynamic. But what ends up happening is it's cold wherever they are. It's been snowing, icy, all that stuff. While Connor was out, Sam and Dean got into it. Dean started bugging the shit out of Sam, and Sam ran out of the motel room. In the process, he slipped and fell, and he hit his head. So when Connor comes back, of course, you know, Dean's tending to Sam in the bathroom. Connor comes in and is trying to, like, you know, figure out exactly what happened. So he's getting information from Dean and Sam. Dean is insinuating himself and answering questions when Connor wants Sam to. And eventually he's got to get Dean out of the room. Because again, you immediately get that sense of Dean is hyper fixated on Sam too. I feel like this is just a continuing theme too. Like, Connor would be like Sam, Dean would be Sam. So there would be probably even more of that for Sam to have to take on as well. I can assume how overwhelming that might be. Maybe, you know, exploring that in another story. But at the end of the day, this is the part of this that kind of like, I'm really trying to understand this better. Because when we talk about corporal punishment, domestic discipline, the spanking and everything like that, at some point, you know, Connor figures out what's happened, that Sam's okay. He leaves him, you know, for a little while in the bathroom while he goes to deal with Dean. And Dean's immediately like, you've got to call Dad, tell him what I did so that, you know, I'm going to get and earn my punishment. And Connor's like, maybe we don't, you know, maybe maybe we don't let dad know. And maybe I just take that on instead and I dole out the punishment that dad would have. My understanding probably being he doesn't want the punishment. He wants Dean to deal with the punishment, but not maybe get it as harsh as John would inflict on him. And then there's a whole thing about the actual punishment. He gets bent over his knee. I think does he get the belt, the strap? I think there's a strap. Yeah.
Hands
Leather
first.
strap. Yeah.
Hands first. And
then a leather
a
strap.
leather strap that John had made.
Yes. John. Yes. I think I did highlight that too. So leather strap about 17 or 18 inches long and 3 inches wide that looked like it was made with 2 pieces sewn back to back to make it thicker and heavier. One end was fashioned to be a bit narrower for a better grip. Dean's face turned sheet white at the sight of it and practically ashen when Dad told him to drop his pants. I think the storytelling in this is amazing. I love the characterizations.
Mm-hmm.
I love that you get that Sam doesn't want Dean to get hurt. Sam doesn't want, like there's all of this back and forth that you see from them dealing with John that you can definitely see has happened and projected itself and gone beyond as they've gotten older. But I don't know what your thoughts are because you said you had thoughts. Like I said, it's great. I love the character and I will be reading more of it. But I also think Connor is like proper Big Brother material. Like I'm in for it to read more about his journey and kind of how Edge puts him in to the narrative, which I think will be interesting to read. So again, it's a whole verse. I can't remember how many parts there are, but I know there's a lot.
14.
And is it completed?
No.
Okay. But it was published in 2018. So been around for a while. It's definitely worth a read just because of how well it's written. And there's a handful of others that Edge has written that I would also recommend.
Sweet 16.
Yeah, Sweet 16 is a great one. There's another one I can't remember the name of, but it's a Sam and Dean one. And then I have the other one that I, if we get to, I will add in as well. But yes, your thoughts about Beneath Your Wings, Part 1.
I thought it was incredible. I went into it and I started reading it and I was like, okay, because Sandra said to me, she's like, I kind of don't get this. Like, I don't sorry to toss you under the bus, Sandra. But she was like, this whole like domestic discipline thing, like, I don't get it. So I went into Beneath Your Wings was the first one I read. And then like I said, I didn't finish the second one, but that was because life happened at me and I only started reading these about an hour before we were going to record. So that's my fault. Sorry. So I went into it and I was like, okay, I have thoughts. I can see, like, I had thoughts that I thought I would maybe be able to answer Sandra's questions with. But then as I got more into it, I was like, my thoughts don't exactly line up with the plot of
because I mean, I get the whole aspect of it. Like, I understand John coming from a generation because I was brought up by parents like that, where like corporal punishment is a thing. Like, that you inflict certain punishment on your children to get them to behave, to learn their lesson. It's not like
I'd gone way off the reservation with that.
I kind of got that part of it, and also like knowing John's background, military. What I kind of don't jive or vibe with John with this is because I don't know what his and I don't know if we ever get some sort of like backstory from Edge's perspective about how John was, say, disciplined growing up. Because taking it from canon, Henry Winchester did not seem, like the type that would punish that way in my mind. So anyway, that was my thought. Like, I get it, but then I'm like, okay, the one thing I don't understand too, that's hinted a lot, is Dean's acceptance of it.
Okay.
I get it. There's a lot of questions.
Sandra's like, please, I have questions. So I didn't approach that from the same way you approach that with like products of generation and yada yada yada. And sort of like in before we get on this, don't hit your kids. Like, don't just don't do that. You wouldn't hit. Just don't. Like, I am anti spanking unless it's between consenting adults. But don't hit your kids, right? But I will try and explain this how it made sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
There is a simplicity in it.
Mm.
And I realize that is an enormous oxymoron.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think about it's the simplest form of action and consequence.
Right. Yeah.
You fuck up,
You
are punished,
mm-hmm.
and it is done with.
Mm-hmm.
And it is, okay, like, from a neurodivergent point of view,
mm-hmm.
that makes complete sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
I would not want to live in a world where it was that way, but it makes complete sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you think of all the ways, like, in an ideal world, you don't punish people for fucking up, you help them learn. But that's not the world we live in. So, if you think about all of the alternate ways that Dean could have been, quote unquote, punished for winding his brother up and causing his brother to fall.
Stuck. I know that. None of them would have made him. None of them would have made a difference to him.
I'm not going to lie to you. I am consciously avoiding that aspect of it because that triggers things in me that I don't want to address.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I am consciously avoiding the idea that you have to beat your children to make a lesson stick. I'm not looking at it like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry if I'm misinterpreting what you're trying to say here, Edge. You drop us an email. Actually drop us an email, period, because I would fucking love to talk to you about this.
Yeah.
I can't look at that side. So I'm looking at it from the side that makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
John, some of societally, the ways that people express displeasure with you can be really difficult to interpret and understand.
Mm-hmm.
If John had come home and, been cold with Dean, and that's difficult to understand.
Mm-hmm.
And it's arbitrary. There's no end point to that. You just have to wait until this person is done being angry with you.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get to go, oh, we're done now. I struggle with that, even as an adult. I far prefer to talk my feelings out with somebody if we're angry with each other, because the whole concept of I have to wait until you're done being mad with me before you'll talk to me, and I don't know how long that's going to be, and I'm going to remain in this state of stress and anxiety until such time as you deem appropriate, gives me that. I struggle with that massively.
Right.
So that's just one interpretation. All of the myriad ways John would have had to, quote unquote, punish, extra chores, extra training, being benched, like has happened to Connor.
Mm-hmm.
And I would, like I said, I'm not going to touch any of that. But isn't it interesting that Connor, the adult, I think he's 5 years older than Dean, so he would be 20.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it interesting that Connor, the adult, gets benched, but Dean, the teenager, is still physically punished?
Yeah, see, that's the thing that I keep coming back to. And again, I don't know if it's hit upon as much in this story, but I've read a few others. And I think in Loose Spirits, the other one that I wanted to talk about, I think there's a resignation to Dean's acceptance of it. And again, I understand that him as a character, but I'm also like, don't you want to fight it just a little bit? But then I think about him as a character and go, okay, maybe that's not as genuine.
But consider.
But the thing about it too, and you'd see this in the next one, Sam doesn't accept it, right? Sam does everything in his power to not have it happen. And Dean's more just accepting. So it's this psychological thing, man. And it's this guilt. And it's this, like you were talking about, getting it done, getting it out of the way. And then there's the talking. And there's instances, and I'm sure this is probably close to how a lot of people view John too. Like, give the punishment, then he feels the guilt for doing it. And then he talks to the boys. So there's that aspect to it too, that I think you get in other stories too. It's so, and I know this triggers a lot of people too, because again, I come from a generation where, if you did something, you'd get hit, and then supposedly then, it hurts me more than it hurts you. Like that kind of a situation. Like that's what you would hear maybe from a parent. It hurts me having to do this, but you need to learn your lesson situation. But I find it interesting. And Ed, yes, we're going to make you come back on Discord and have a chat with us on this, because
there will be multitudinous emails exchanged.
I'm so interested in Dean's mindset. And I get it. It's there. It's in there.
Can I help?
Yes, please help. Help.
Thank you.
Help.
You were like, I have questions. And I was like, I have thoughts. And you were like, wait, no, I've decided how I'm going to interpret it.
But then I had more thoughts. But then, yes.
No.
Right, counter.
So, Dean's acceptance of it. I mean, we, spoiler, we're on a time crunch. We have something else to record after this that is time sensitive. So we're not going to sit here and pick about all of the beautiful masochistic ways that reside within the character that is Dean Winchester and how he would think it is totally reasonable that he gets his ass tanned for, chasing his brother. But think about this, right? He's fucked up. He knows he's fucked up, right? So he gets his quote unquote punishment and he is absolved of that guilt.
But
nobody
is he?
In this universe, yes, nobody's going to be angry with him. He's fucked up. He's going to take his punishment like a man. He's going to take his punishment, and then it's done. And the theory is that, and this, I've read a fair few fics with domestic discipline, this kind of domestic discipline within them, and I know Edge has mentioned multiple times wanting to have a full episode focused on it, and I am going to do that. And, we're going to do like a fact versus fiction, and we're going to delve into it, and I will obviously be conducting the epic amounts of research that go into fact versus fiction for this. It is that absolution that comes from that. And then afterwards, it's finished. And that's what sets it apart, I think, from other forms of discipline or punishment, or even just the way society disciplines or punishes. Like I said, if somebody decides they're going to be pissy with you, even if you go, I'm so sorry, I know what I've done, let me make it right, you're still on the hook for them to decide when they're done being pissy. And that's really stressful for certain kinds of people. So in this, there is comfort in knowing that you have fucked up, you have been punished for it, your punishment has made amends, and it is finished with. Nobody is going to be shitty with you after this. Nobody's going to go, oh, do you remember that one time when? Nobody's going to hold this over your head. It's finished. It's done. And there's comfort in that. And like I said, my own neurotypicalness likes that. I like that. I don't want to live in a world like that because, oh my God, that is susceptible to so much abuse. And also, like, don't hit people. Like, just don't hit people. Like, that's not what we're doing. Don't hit your kids, don't hit anyone. But I can see so very clearly the concept of I have fucked up. And so in theory, you would fuck up and you would do what you can to fix your fuck up. You would apologize, or you would, glue the vase back together, or you'd replace the plate or whatever. And then you are punished. And so you have made amends and you have taken your punishment for your quote unquote crime, and it's finished with.
So are you, the way I'm trying to come to terms with it is almost like in a religious aspect. Like you go to like confession, you make your confession, you get absolved of your sins, and you get this clean slate to start again. All of that sounds great in theory.
It's a great theory. That's what it is.
I don't feel Dean as the character is ever going to be like, hey, I'm good, I get to start again, I'm not going to, like that. To me,
I will say though,
to me, that's the thing. But
it's tagged AU. It's tagged AU. This is not our Dean. This is not canon Dean. Because I agree with you.
I know. It's just so hard for me to not.
I agree with you that our canonical Dean would not only would he punch somebody's teeth out, he would not be able to absolve himself. He would not be able to accept that absolution. And I get it. I do.
Yeah.
But while we're playing in this universe, and again, Edge, please drop us an email if I have misinterpreted your message in any way, but it makes sense to me. It does. And it, like I said, there's a whole heap of stuff that is going, oh yeah, and I'm going, fucking no. Go back over there, get in the corner. Absolutely not.
Oh God.
But that is my issue. That is not, but And I think it's so interesting that when we get to the end of this fic, Sam is obviously, he asks Connor not to punish Dean, and obviously, you know, he knows that Connor has, and he comes out and he's like, I told you not to hurt him. And Connor says that, like, the way that this is justified, I guess, and I would imagine this is paraphrasing John, maybe. This is maybe the way John has justified it to Connor. Dean needs help sometimes, he said. It's like he's a race car tearing down the road at full speed. He's going so fast, it's hard for him to get back on track if he diverts or to avoid crashing into something. Dad and I were trying to help him stay on track, but when you have a powerful race car, you need powerful brakes. You know what I mean? And again, there's a whole heap of stuff going that we're just not going to... I am not in a headspace to look at because, right? But I see where that's at. I see, because it's almost like I said, I do not hit my children at all, but I do practice fuck around and find out parenting. And it's becoming a dying breed in my generation. But fuck around and find out parenting is basically, I will go, you're going to get hurt, and then I will let my children do whatever it is they're going to fucking do. I will warn them that what they're going to do is dangerous. And if they choose to not heed my warning and they get hurt, well, you fucked around and you found out, didn't you? And that is, while as you get older, the lessons that you learn from fuck around and find out tend not to be physically painful or injurious. It exists, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You're on a blind date and you say the wrong thing and that person goes, ew, fuck you, and leaves. That is a lesson you've learned from that. In theory, people don't. But like in theory, you go, oh shit, no, that's not the right thing to do. And you learn from that.
Yeah.
Lessons like that are powerful. So I can see where Connor's at, in that you could tell Dean until you're blue in the face, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. But sometimes you have to let him fuck around, and then you go, and now you're going to find out. And then the next time he thinks, hey, what if I just drive into a tree? He's going to remember the find out part and go, what if I just don't?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it, unfortunately, like I said, there's a whole bunch of shit that I'm just not. And you can tell by the way that I keep bringing it back up that I am actively fighting this thing now.
Yeah.
It's a very dangerous method. Like, fuck around and find out works when we're talking about don't jump off that, or you're going to fall if you keep leaping on the sofa. It's not for like, you spilt the milk, so I'm going to break a rib. You know, like, I think actually the new age term for it is natural consequences. Natural consequences.
Okay.
Or logical consequences. There's some newfangled new age parenting bullshit name for it. Fuck around and find out. But it's the find out part has to be at the same level appropriate to the fuck around part. Like I said, it's abuse if someone breaks a glass and you break their ribs. That's abuse. That's not even the natural consequence. The find out part of that is, well, now you have to clean up broken glass. Or now that was the last of the soda and now you don't have any more soda. You know, it's natural consequences.
I mean, I guess,
but it makes sense to me. I get it.
No, I get it. Trying to place it into another universe, or sort of like a little bit of a different Dean, I would get.
I think that's what's tripping you up, isn't it? That it's an AU Dean and you're like, not my Dean.
Yeah. But I will say there's similar themes that run through other works of Edge that are not necessarily AU. You know, it's Sam and Dean and John. It's it's teens, it's family drama, it's all these things. If something makes me really have to think, it's really good writing. And Edge does that with these fics and really like hammers home the feelings of, I think, everybody involved. Like, you really get the from the lens, the viewpoint, I think, in different stories that I think really make her work stand out. The other one that we're not going to get to, but I'm just going to shout it out, is Loose Spirits, and we'll leave a link to it. It's more of a case fic, but it has this great little backstory. Sammy trying to get out of getting punished and wanting to have a little bit of a normal life, and seeing the dynamic between Dean, Sam, John, and again, there's punishment at the end. I think that would be a good thing if people are interested in reading, to get another idea of how Edge approaches that. It's definitely interesting. But yes, I think I always come away from reading her stuff and just being like, it gets me. It gets me. It's a very feely, because again, you feel the love of everybody, but you feel how they if only they did it like you said, if they just figured out a different way, it might work a little bit better. Like, you don't really have to continue like the punishment. You know what I mean? Like, there's got to be another way, and I don't think they've kind of figured that out.
That has.
Yeah.
But I think what you're getting hung up on is some people like it that way.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense to some people, because there are so many, and again, I am coming at this from a neurotypical worldview. There are so many things that don't make any sense. When you actually think about them, they don't make any sense. The way that we interact as people with other people, a lot of times, don't make any fucking sense. And obviously that's a whole, specifically, I'm thinking of autism here. That's being unable to understand social cues and stuff. That's a whole, criteria of autism. It's a whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But this makes sense. This
I get
is
that. I get
very...
that. I do. I get that there's an action, a consequence. I'm getting all that.
And I think there's comfort to be found in that.
Mm-hmm.
It's the lack of knowing I find very anxiety inducing. And I know a lot of people do, but if somebody could say to you, this is what is going to happen if you fuck up, and there are going to be these exact consequences, wouldn't that be helpful? I'm not saying... Now, obviously, that can backfire if you don't use it properly, because when you say to your kid, if you mess up, you're going to go on the naughty step for 5 minutes, they're going to make a calculated decision at some point over whether they want to do is worth those 5 minutes on the naughty step. And eventually, it loses its effectiveness because they go, that's 5 minutes, fuck it, Which is why I very much advocate, don't go. You got to start at the bottom. You need to give yourself room to escalate. If you go in at 10, you've nowhere to go. Which is, again, fuck around and find out, But don't you think that would be nice?
It would. My issue is, and I think this is something that just is pounded home in the show, and as well as in fics like this, is that there's not the punishment isn't, like we were talking about, isn't kind of across the board the same for each kid.
But then you've got that line of an adult versus a child, haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason I brought that up is for a second, the "ire" voice made it through, and then I was like, "Fucking no!" Right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's at a certain point, you have to acknowledge your child as your equal. They are not your child anymore, but they are not a child anymore. And as we see, John is still exerting his perceived authority over Connor, but he has to, and there's so much we could get into there where you're just like, well, you wouldn't hit another adult, why would you hit a child? Oh my god, we'd be here forever. Even if we weren't on a time constraint, fuck me, we'd be here forever. If we ignore all that, there's John was very, very clear about the expectations he had for Sam and Dean was an adult when he was 4. Sam was perpetually a child. Sam was a child into his 20s, thinking of the scene on the side of the road, do as you're told, and John never moved Sam from a child to my child, which that didn't come out of my mouth right, because they're not just a child when they're younger, but they exist as both your child and a child at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually you do have to elevate them to my child, not a child. It moves.
Mm-hmm.
And John never did that. You know, and he went totally the other way with Dean. Dean was never a child and my child. Dean was for always my child.
Yeah.
But with all the adult expectations that go along with that. You know,
Yeah.
my adult child.
Yeah.
Whereas Sam was always a child.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's, you know, if we think in this AU, that's John has managed to achieve that and has moved Connor, you know, to, I don't think John would ever view anybody as his equal, far less his own children. But Connor has moved. Connor is no longer a child. Connor is now on a level with John.
Mm-hmm. Beneath Your Wings by Edge of Clairvoyance. Rating, teen and up. No archive warnings apply. Category is general. Fandom is supernatural. Relationships, Dean Winchester and Sam Winchester, Dean Winchester and original Winchester characters, Sam Winchester and original Winchester characters. Characters, Dean Winchester, Sam Winchester, original Winchester characters, Connor Winchester. Additional tags, spanking, non-consensual spanking, punishment, corporal punishment, teen Dean Winchester, young Sam Winchester, alternate universe, brothers, brotherly love, brother feels, brotherly affection, fluff and angst, comfort/angst, fluff, original characters, POV original character, pre-series Dean Winchester, pre-series Sam Winchester, pre-series discipline. And this is part 1 of the older brother verse. Summary. Connor being cooped up with his 2 younger brothers in a motel room or a trailer or a crap rental home wasn't a new thing. He'd been babysitting them ever since they were, well, babies. Even before Mom died. Even before they were thrust into a world where fairy tale monsters were real and nightmares were happening while you were wide awake. And Dean, being in one of his moods, wasn't anything new either. The kid was as much a handful at 15 as he was at 5. Even more so once all the usual teenage issues started kicking in. Connor could usually handle him, though, even without keeping his leash as tight as their father did. But today, Dean had come very close to making him break. Notes. Spanking of a teen by an adult brother. If it may offend, hit the back button. Less Than Appropriate Language by Dean and Connor Winchester. This work is brought to you courtesy of 3 wonderful betas, Tosca Rossetti, Crazed Panda, and Alex of the Garden. Thank you so much. Connor really needed to get back. He kept his coat wrapped tightly around him with his hands stuffed deep into his pockets as he strode on the frost-covered sidewalk. It was snowing constantly now, and despite the plows having been through once already, it was piling up again. And it was damn cold, too. His cheeks were stinging with icy needles, and he couldn't even feel the tips of his nose and ears anymore. It was definitely time he got himself back to the motel room to defrost. Thinking about the room made him think about why he'd gone out in the first place. Being cooped up with his 2 younger brothers in a motel room, or a trailer, or a crap rental home wasn't a new thing. He'd been babysitting them ever since they were, well, babies. Even before Mom died. Even before they were thrust into a world where fairy tale monsters were real and nightmares were happening while you were wide awake. And Dean being in one of his moods wasn't anything new either. The kid was as much a handful at 15 as he was at 5, even more so once all the usual teenage issues started kicking in. Dad had the right idea in channeling all that energy, fearlessness, and stubbornness into training. Connor willingly admitted that even with the 5 years he had on his brother, Dean was already well on his way to becoming the better hunter between them. If only he could be as focused and attentive outside of hunts as he was on them. His brother was a good boy. There wasn't a teacher, neighbor, school counselor, or landlord that would convince Connor otherwise. But he was hot-headed, a jokester, impulsive, and had a mouth 10 sizes too big for his own good. Connor could usually handle him, though, even without keeping his leash as tight as their father did. But today, Dean had come very close to making him break. It was the damned weather, for starters. Being penned up in the little motel room did neither of them good. But to be honest, they had been caged together in so many rooms over the years, he really shouldn't have been bothered by it that much. And the longer Connor thought it over, the more certain he became that it wasn't so much Dean's mood that got to him, but his own. Yeah, forgetting to get the crossbow ready for the last hunt had been negligent, stupid, a rookie mistake. But Dad shouldn't have benched him. That was even more stupid. Dad needed him out there, helping him track whatever was killing lonely elderly men. Needed him there more than here, in this dingy motel room with the stained wallpaper and the TV that needed to be physically kicked whenever they wanted to turn it on. Dean was able to watch Sammy perfectly fine on his own. Dad could grumble all he wanted about the kid not showing a shred of responsibility, but the fact remained that whenever they left Dean in charge, Sammy was always clean, fed, clothed, and rested. No, leaving Connor behind had nothing to do with Dad's concern for the younger boys. It was because Connor had screwed up. And sure, it made Connor cranky and impatient. Anybody who wanted to condemn him for it could go to hell. He had every reason in the world to be in a bad mood, and when the combination of it with the effects of Dean under lockdown came too close to a head, Connor did the mature, responsible thing and took a walk. The overwhelming cold outside did him good. He was ready to go back and face his little brother more calmly now. More than ready, actually. Jesus, he was fucking freezing.
I'm actually looking at the time, and I'm thinking, as much as I'd love to continue the discussion, we do have to wrap this baby up. Yeah.
What I would actually say, and we are going to ping Edge and be like, I we talked about your thing. We know that you're not comfortable to come on and speak to us, and that's totally cool. But what I would love to do is have a conversation with you about this and revisit this.
Mm-hmm.
Like her, I know she wants me to do like a domestic discipline episode, and I will, but that will be broader. I would really love to get your input on how you see John. Have we misinterpreted him? Am I way off fucking base? You know, is Sandra's kind of hang-ups about where are we in an AU and how would it translate? Like, talk to us, because what we'll do, if you're okay with it, is we'll like read your emails and things like that. And like, you'll be part of the discussion, but you don't actually have to like be part of the discussion.
Yeah,
but I would, oh my God, we could sit for this for hours.
Yeah.
So many hours.
So anyway, it's recommended. Please read it. Figure out what it is.
And I'm gonna go and read the rest of The Older Brother, and I'm gonna finish up the other fic that we didn't really get around to. But like Sandra said, the premise for the start of that fic is that Sam is trying to get rid of the implement that John uses to physically punish him with, and he's kind of like roped Dean into it. And like I said, I didn't finish it, so I don't know what happens. But
no, but it's really good. There's a lot of good imagery. It's the storytelling again. Edge, you do a great job. You really do a great job with all this.
So good.
Really
big
good.
stretch. Big stretch.
Really good. But yeah, let's try to wrap up right now.
Let's wrap this up.
So again, sorry, we were probably a little rusty with our Canon Fodder. Hopefully we get a little bit better with this when we do these again. And we plan on doing them a little bit more regularly through our Discord recommendations. So be on the lookout if you're in our Discord.
And if there's something, like, we cannot promise that we will get to all of them. So, please don't get upset. But if there is something that you're like, I really want to, toss it in there, man. And we'll, it all goes into the pool, so to say. And, I'm sorry if you feel that this was rushed. We are unfortunately on a time constraint, and you see what happened was Sandra won't fucking talk to me through the rest of the week. So when I get her on a Saturday, I'm like, all of my life.
It was my fault this time, though. We started off well.
I saved you from that bus, and you were like, I'm going under it anyway.
I was going under it anyway. See, so I had to even everything out. Yeah, Jinkies and Edge, just give us your thoughts after you listen to it. Thank you for listening to our ranting, and let us know what you thought of the episode. Email us at idlingintheimpala@gmail.com. Comment on Spotify in the Q&A section. Leave a YouTube comment, join our Discord, and chat with fellow idlers and us in real time. Check out our merch store, which is another fun way to show your support. You can find details for everything on our website, idlingintheimpala.com. Want to fuel our supernatural road trip? Consider joining us on Ko-fi for as little as $1 a month. We have perks to go along with different membership tiers and would love to have you along for the ride.
Don't forget, you can also support us for free by liking, commenting, subscribing on YouTube, and following, rating, and sharing on audio platforms. Engagement like that really helps us with the algorithms. All hail their benevolence. As always, we have the causes that we support in the description. So for me, you have LGBTQ plus talking charities. From Sandra, you have mental health charities. Also included are US election information websites. Keep yourself informed and up to date as November closes in. And remember to bastardize the Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's just a jump to the left, not a step to the right. And when the UK government finally gets their shit together and announces a UK election date, I will include information on how to keep yourself informed. We're not quite so clusterfucky as the US when it comes to voter suppression, but when it's applicable to us guys, I'll include the shit. Don't even worry about it. As always as well, the main causes that we are championing, supporting, highlighting, spotlighting, all of those other adjectives that mean drawing attention to is World Central Kitchen and Doctors Without Borders. Both of those charities are on the ground working in the Ukraine to help those that are still affected by Russia's unlawful invasion of the Ukraine, and in Gaza, which is in the crossfire of the war between Israel and Hamas. This is not political. It doesn't matter which side of these issues you stand on. We are coming from a purely humanitarian view here. There are people in the Ukraine and Gaza that are trapped, that are cut off from basic human rights like food, water, and shelter, and they're dying. They didn't ask for war, and we want to help the people risking their lives to help them. If you cannot or do not want to donate financially, that's absolutely fine. Just sharing the links around social media helps massively to keep these issues in the public eye and get people in need all the help that we can. So with that, we will say thank you for joining us in the back seat, and we will see you next time, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.